Today, we're talking about someone who completely shatters the stereotype of a quiet, passive saint. I mean, this is Catherine of Siena, a woman who, with literally no army and no political office, went head to head with the most powerful men of her time. So, how in the world did she pull it off?
I mean, really think about that question, because that's the heart of her incredible story. You've got an age of total chaos, war, plague, you name it, and this young woman from a pretty humble background decides that the leader of the entire Christian world, the Pope himself, is making a huge mistake, and she decides she's the one who's going to fix it.
Okay, so to really get Catherine, you first have to understand the world she was born into. And let me tell you, it was not some peaceful time of quiet reflection. It was a century of absolute crisis.
The situation was just dire. First off, the papacy itself, the very heart of the church, had packed up and left Rome for Avignon in France. People were calling it a spiritual disaster, the Babylonian captivity. Then, right as Catherine is born, the Black Death just rips across Europe, wiping out millions and shaking people's faith to the absolute core. The world honestly felt like it was ending, and its spiritual leader was in exile. This is the chaotic stage where our story begins. And right out of this chaos comes this very unlikely hero. Not a queen, not a general, but the daughter of a local cloth dyer. And this detail right here, it's so important. Catherine wasn't born into power or wealth. Her authority wasn't going to come from some fancy title or an inheritance. No, it had to be forged from something else entirely, something from within. From a very young age, Catherine started having these intense spiritual visions. In her telling of it, she had direct conversations with God. And this quote, it just captures the essence of her calling. It's a direct, divine command to act. For her, this wasn't just a vague feeling. It was a clear instruction, and it became the bedrock of her unshakable confidence. And here's a really interesting part of her story. Catherine didn't become a nun in the way we usually think of it. She didn't disappear behind convent walls. Instead, she turned a room in her own very busy family home into her personal sanctuary. And that decision kept her grounded in the real world, the very world she felt God was telling her to go out and change.
So, you're probably wondering, how does a mystic praying in a private room become one of the most influential political figures in all of Europe? Well, she starts writing letters.
You see, for Catherine, faith was never passive. It wasn't just about saving your own soul. It was a mandate to go out and heal a broken world. Her prayers, her visions, they all fueled this relentless conviction that she had to get involved directly to turn spiritual truth into real political action. I mean, just look at this list. The sheer scope of her ambition it's just staggering. Think about it. An uneducated woman, a dyer's daughter, is dictating letters that advised, challenged, and often scolded the most powerful people on the entire continent. She basically became an unofficial diplomat and spiritual advisor to all of Europe, all from her little room in Siena. And get this is the kind of things she would write directly to Pope Gregory XI. There's no hesitation here, no tiptoeing around. She speaks with the absolute authority of someone who truly believes she's delivering a message from God. She wasn't asking him, she was telling him to find his courage and do the right thing. It's just incredible. And this became her singular focus, her main campaign. For years, she relentlessly hammered this one point over and over in her letters and eventually in person. She saw the whole Avignon papacy as the root cause of the church's corruption and weakness. Bringing the Pope back to Rome wasn't just a political chess move for her. It was the key to healing all of Christendom. But here's the thing. Catherine wasn't just a political activist with a strong opinion. Her actions were rooted in this deep, complex theology. It was the source of her power, and she laid it all out in her masterwork. So before we jump into her book, you gotta understand this one key idea: divine providence. For Catherine, this wasn't some passive belief that, oh, God will just fix everything. Not at all. It was an active, dynamic partnership. She believed God's plan actually required human courage and action to make it happen. All the chaos she saw in the world, that wasn't God failing. It was a profound call for humanity to step up. And the result of all that belief was this: the Dialogue of Divine Providence, which is now a foundational text of Christian mysticism. And it's not a political rule book, it's this incredibly intimate conversation between a soul and God.
In it, she basically argues that you can only really know God's love by first knowing yourself deeply. This was her engine. By understanding herself, she felt she understood God's will. And that gave her the absolute conviction to act in the world without any fear.
And the way this book was created, it's just as remarkable as what's inside. Catherine herself was basically illiterate. The entire book was dictated to scribes while she was in a mystical trance. Just imagine that. It just poured out of her, like a direct transmission of her spiritual experiences. It really helps you understand why she felt her words carried so much divine authority. So the big question is, did it work? After all that, after this relentless campaign of letters and prayers, did she actually succeed? The answer? A resounding yes. In 1377, after years of her constant pressure, Pope Gregory XI finally left Avignon and brought the papacy back to Rome. It was a monumental victory, and it was achieved not with armies, but with the unshakable conviction of a single person.
And this, right here, gets to the absolute core of her legacy. The 14th century was full of powerful men who understood power as force. Armies, money, political games. Catherine showed the world a totally different kind of power. Power as conviction. It's the kind of authority that comes from absolute moral clarity and the sheer courage to speak the truth, even to the most powerful people on the planet. Ultimately, her life is just this powerful testament to the idea that real world-changing influence can come from the most unexpected places. It can be wielded by anyone with enough courage, a clear purpose, and an absolutely unbreakable will.
Her story really forces us to stop and think about our own definitions of power, doesn't it? Is it the ability to command people, or is it the ability to inspire them to be better? Is power found in the halls of government, or is it found in the quiet conviction of a single human heart? It's a question Catherine of Siena answered with her extraordinary life. Thanks for watching.